All right, we are following breaking news out of New York where jurors are deadlocked in the Daniel Penny trial. Penny, if you remember, is the Marine veteran accused of the fatal chokehold that led to the death of a homeless man on a subway last year. CBS New York has been following this case very closely. Let's listen into their coverage from just moments ago.
Breaking news on day 4 of deliberations in the trial of Marine veteran Daniel Penny. We are now hearing the jury cannot agree on whether to convict him on the most serious charge of second-degree manslaughter.
Penny is on trial for that deadly subway chokehold last year. The jury has been deliberating for 4 days. Doug Williams joins us live outside the courthouse with the very latest. Doug.
Jessica and Cindy, here is the very latest. According to our Alice Gaynor inside the courtroom, just before 11, the jury brought a note to the judge that read in part, "We, the jury, request instructions as we are unable to come to a unanimous vote on count 1. That is the charge of manslaughter in the second degree. It's the more serious charge of the two that Daniel Penny's facing and can mean up to 15 years in prison if convicted. As the judge instructed them at the beginning of deliberations, they must agree on that charge before they can even consider the second charge of criminally negligent homicide. The jury's been told all along that if they were to find Penny guilty of second-degree manslaughter, they would not have to issue a decision on the lesser count. So according to Alice just moments ago, this was all just discussed inside the courtroom between both sides of attorneys and the judge. The defense was asking the judge for a mistrial. The judge, it seems, has just instructed the jury and has decided on what's called an Allen charge. That is basically telling the jury to reconsider their positions, to go back to deliberating, to try and come up with a unanimous vote on that first count. We will, of course, keep you updated on this ongoing process going on behind me, but for now, we're live here in Lower Manhattan. Doug Williams, CBS News, New York.
All right, Doug, thank you. And a lot of questions now about how this moves forward.
Joining us to talk more about the case is Fordham Law Professor Cheryl Bader. Cheryl, this most recent note is our first major indicator of how the jury is thinking. What does it say to you about how they're leaning if they can't even agree on the superseding charge of second-degree manslaughter?
So, of course, deliberation is a secret process, and so we never know what exactly is in the minds of the jury. But when we get a note like this, it can be quite telling. And so there's two different things that we know. One is that there's a substantial disagreement among the jurors, enough so that they're asking the judge to intervene, and that a number of the jurors, and probably a substantial enough number that they're coming to the judge, would be in favor of conviction on the highest count. So we don't know whether that means that other jurors would be in favor of complete acquittal, or if there's been an agreement among the jury and they're just trying to decide, is it manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide?
No, that makes a lot of sense. The latest thing out of the courtroom is really shocking to me because we've known all along they have to agree on the first charge before they can potentially consider the second charge. Now the judge is saying if you can't come to a unanimous decision on the first charge, we might have to order a completely new trial. Are you shocked by that?
Right. No. So typically, if the jury can't come to an agreement, the judge would declare a mistrial. But here, the judge could ask the prosecution, "Do you want to drop the highest charge?" In other words, again, the prosecutor may be thinking from this note. Again, we're like reading the tea leaves. Right, but they may think, okay, there are a lot of jurors here that want to convict, and so am I better off, rather than having to try this case again and have a mistrial, dropping that charge and letting the jury deliberate on the lesser charge of criminal negligent homicide? So,
Professor, do you see this, that we're going to be planning for a longer deliberation?
So I think there'll be at least some more time because the judge is going to be instructing them that, there's lots of court resources and that they should try to reach a unanimous verdict. And so we'll have them sort of grapple with that again, and then we'll see if there's another note. But then also, I think the judge will be conferring with counsel, especially the prosecutor, to see, do they want to move on to just consider this lesser charge?
All right, Professor Cheryl Bader, thank you so much for your insight. And stay with CBS News New York for continuing coverage. Alice Gaynor is in.
And you were just watching coverage from our partners there at WCBS in New York City. Now, we just learned that the jury is deadlocked on the most serious charge in the Daniel Penny case. Penny, for his part, pleaded not guilty to manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide charges. So let's bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson is here with the very latest on this case. Jessica, what do you make of this development that the jury just can't come to unanimous decision about the most serious charge here?
I think that the jury is in some ways like the rest of us. I mean, they're looking at a different question, which is just a legal question. We're looking at political and societal questions, but people tend to be divided when they look at this case. And I know that that will upset people who view this through a very specific lens of either absolutely this is inappropriate and in fact it's criminal, or of course we have a Marine here who is just a hero and trying to protect the people on the train. And I think what we're seeing is that our division is playing out in the jury room as well. And we just heard some good information about why the jury may be deadlocked. We know in our system, we need to have a unanimous jury verdict. The prosecution has to show beyond a reasonable doubt that Penny was guilty of manslaughter in this case. I think it will be really interesting to see when a judge goes and says, can you try again if anything changes? Why do judges do that? Because as we talked about a few moments ago, there's a lot of resources that go into trying these cases. And a judge is hoping that this isn't all for naught. The prosecution put on the case, the defense put on a case, you have the jurors' time, you have the court staff time, and the judge is trying to save this, say, go back again, take a breath, see if anything changes. And sometimes that works. And then there will be a question, as we heard, about whether or not the prosecution is willing to say, we'll drop that manslaughter charge, jury, just consider that lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. And that would be a prosecution decision, frankly, I think that would involve whether or not they would just rather say this case is basically a loss because it would be a mistrial, and whether or not they want to start from scratch, go back to a different jury with a manslaughter charge, or if they say we sunk so much time into this, it's a tough case, let's try and move forward with this jury where we know at least some of them are willing to convict on the negligence charge.
So it's important to know, Jessica, there's another case that runs parallel to this particular case, and that is the case spawned by Jordan Neely's father, who has filed a civil lawsuit against Daniel Penny. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means in the civil trial?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for all of us kind of watching and waiting to see what happens in this criminal case, the bottom line is that that civil case should mean actually nothing, because we are talking about a criminal case where the jury can only consider the evidence that they heard in that case. And so, yes, there is a separate criminal case filed by Neely's family, which we sometimes do see. And obviously the set of facts is the same. The case is different because it's a civil case as opposed to a criminal case. The burden of proof is very different. We have a private plaintiff instead of the government, a prosecutor. But the bottom line for the criminal case is that it should not even really be a question in the jury's mind as to what may or may not be happening in a future or parallel civil case. They are looking at separate criminal acts, and they are looking at different evidence, and they need to make an independent judgment.
All right, CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Thank you so much, Jessica.